All right, kids, here we are. And we could not officially start the pre-Flask show without the Grumpy Penguin. So we were just waiting with bated breath for that to occur. And lo and behold, the Grumpy Penguin is here. Gender neutral, I'm sure, because it's the Grumpy Penguin, and that's okay. So this is the pre-Flask show, and we are all here for the pre-Flask today. Topic today, Kyle, is going to be NAB 2019 prep and general production questions and all kinds of stuff. It's in the title and description below the fold. And we would like to welcome everybody who has shown up a little bit early where we start things up. So just a quick, we'll do official intros at the start of the hour. But we have here two of my best friends in the whole world. This is Caleb Pike from DSLR Video Shooter, Ben Barden from benbarden.co.uk. He resides in the Czech Republic because he's so pissed off about Brexit. And so that's not really true, but that is true. So, and not
kind
really,
of true.
It's kind of true. It's a lot. So there you go. And here we are. So, gentlemen, just sort of before we start, how was your week, Caleb? What have you been up to besides this BTS of how you shoot B-roll stuff, which is awesome?
Thank you. Guides. So I'm working on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K video guide. Just finished filming that as of today.
Wow.
It's about a week of filming. And now we're entering post-production, which is always super hairy with these guides because I try to capture as many angles as possible, and then I use multicams in Final Cut to create like a zillion different angles, like me, a tight of me, and then I'll actually take the feed from the camera menu and then create another nested multi-cam angle with the feed next to me.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of fun stuff you can do with that. So now it's just entering that, which I have an assistant, which is going to make life so much better for editing this thing. But yeah, taking countless hours of footage and turning it into a polished, 5
many-hour course.
Yeah. So
that's cool.
That's what I've been up to. How about y'all's?
How about you, Ben? What have you been up to?
I was in the UK last week. I had a bit of a nightmare journey back and got stuck in Prague overnight with a late flight. And then I've been home editing stills that I shot last week from 2 stills jobs. But the weather here is just amazing at the moment. It's like minus 15 Celsius. I have no idea what that is in your ridiculous system, but it's
freaking cold.
It's cold. It's really cold. But we live right on the edge of the forest, and because the ground's so hard and the forest is just like some winter wonderland, so I've been having a break in the middle of every day and going off cycling, exploring more of this vast forest. So
let me get this straight.
Yeah, good week.
Around 5 degrees Fahrenheit for all of us over here, and you're jumping on a bicycle.
Sure.
Yeah,
it's the Ben way. This is this is the guy who goes out, to Santa Land and hangs out on oil rigs. So, get with the program here, Caleb. I don't know what you're talking about here.
Jeez. I'm over here complaining about feet of snow dropping here in the Midwest, and we've had a long run of single digits, and it's going to go on for another week. So, how about you?
That's nice, though. But it's like if you've not got wind, it's fine. It's all right.
Yeah, we've had a lot of wind and quite a bit of rain. It's been a pretty mild winter, though I would say compared to the Northeast and also the Midwest. Pacific Northwest tends to be milder, depending on where you are, of course. Oregon is a vast state. So if you're in Eastern Oregon or you're in higher elevations, then you're kind of F like everybody else. But where I am, we get pretty bad winds and it gets a little nasty here sometimes, a little snow, some ice, but it's nothing like we were living with back east. The dreaded, and that they all got hit a few days ago. And I just know my town and my driveway and the crap that I would have had to have dealt with. So, Caleb, you don't sound loud enough compared to Jem and Ben from my end. Jem with the G.
Is that better?
I'm Jem with the J, not Jem with the G. Wiggity, wiggity, whack.
And also, I'm sounding like Barry White apparently compared to last week. I listened to last week's episode back, and my God, what was going on?
Oh, but I have to say,
It really sounds like I've been
insanity.
You do. You sound like music that people would play to make babies to.
I might put the Ben sounds like Barry White thing on my website in my bio.
There you go.
Episode 23 only. No, that was my episode this week. What episode are we on for Camera and Flask?
14.
Holy cow. It's happening.
14.
We're moving along. I was episode 23 for Gearbox today that dropped. So it's all happening. I've been shooting some stuff for Able Cine. We did some production last couple of days, shooting on the Aperture family of lights. So 300D, 120D2, and then the new light domes, Light Dome 2 and Light Dome Mini 2, which are, I mean, they're fantastic. Just
unbelievable.
Humongous upgrade to the old ones, and really nice products. So so that was fun.
I have a question for you on that.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, well, because I tuned in to watch your video and then you didn't have it. So just how small does it pack down, the big one?
Oh, because in the final video that I'm doing for Able, you'll see that the big one, it's long, but it's just like an umbrella. It's about that big around. It's basically the same circumference as the actual speed ring itself, but floppy.
A little bigger.
It doesn't.
Inch all the way around.
But it doesn't fold in half or anything. It is long. The Mini is tiny. And it's a little beauty dish, so it's a great little travel one. If you need close-ups for like photography or for just an interview, the Mini's great. I just, like everybody else here, just loves the biggest, largest source I can possibly get. So, but the disadvantage to the Light Dome 2 is it is deep as a mother. I mean, it's 24 inches deep. It's like, which is, advantageous all around, but pretty interesting. So that, and then we were shooting Flex Cine. So we were kind of doing an overview of the whole Flex Cine line. And a lot of it had to do with the dimmer unit and the modifiers. And it looks like they're going to make a version, I don't know if I'm allowed to say anything, of the dimmer unit that's not going to have the wireless DMX. So there'll be another option that'll be more cost effective for people who don't need the wireless stuff. So so there you go. You are absolutely welcome, Black Film Guild, for the lighting tutorials. There you go. That's, I was going to say Jem with an I. And so there we go. So, we're only a minute away. Good morning from Malaysia. Hey, Ting. Good morning from Oregon. And Bad Karma's here. We've got Grumpy Penguin.
What's up,
Karma? Pretty much. Oh my God, I think we're okay. And it's 3 o'clock. I heard the bell ring, ding, ding. It is 3 o'clock here on the West Coast, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. And is it just flat out midnight for you, Mr. Barden?
It is.
Oh, it's midnight.
It is.
Good.
It's now Thursday.
Good. So Kyle's got a question coming in. This is going to be a good episode for some general questions. So let me just start off by saying, welcome everybody to another episode 14 of Camera and Flask. Today is Wednesday, January 23rd, I think. Is that correct, gentlemen?
That is correct.
And I'm here with my good friends. I have Mr. Caleb Pike here, coming to you from the Midwest of the United States, currently in the Czech Republic, where he resides with his family, but oftentimes in the UK, Mr. Ben Barden, and I am Jem Schofield of the C47. What do we do here at Camera and Flask if you are new to the show? Well, we start with a drink, and then we talk about something related to video production, filmmaking, photography, just basically the craft and gear and the kit of everything. So I'm just going to have these gentlemen do a quick intro, and with their intro, tell us what they're drinking. I'm going to go to where it sounds like it's snowing right now, and that's in the Midwest, and that's Caleb Pike.
Hey everybody, Caleb with DSLR Video Shooter here on YouTube, and yeah, lots of snow, and we're gonna get another like foot this weekend, so that'll be fun. So we're just jumping into drinks, eh? Should we do it? All
Yeah, let's
right.
do it.
So this week, I think both of you, but particularly Jem, will be proud of me. We are doing. Let me make sure I've got my display up to make sure I've got focus. We're going single malt.
No,
Baby.
come on, Ben. There's a Glenlivet 12.
Oh, the Glenlivet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Now you've had this on the show, right, Jem?
Yeah, you know, I'm funny with the Glenlivet 12 because it has its own distinct, you know, character to it, and it is by no means in any way, shape, or form an exceptional single malt. But there's something about it that I just get a hankering for, you know, and there's always a bottle inside the cabinet, and sometimes I just want a Glenlivet 12 and I drink it, and I'll take that over a Glenfiddich any day. Usually, that's just me personally. And that's not a good or a bad. You can judge me if you want.
That'll be for me in the future too, because I've got that as well. I'm starting the journey of upgrading my beverages, so I'm excited.
I like some of your beverages. The wine was a nice touch. Okay, here we go. And Ben, do your thing.
All right. I'm Ben Barden. I'm a photographer and filmmaker, and I'm in the Czech Republic at the moment, where it's beautiful, freezing cold. And I was gonna do a beer because it was something sort of more Czech that we'd not spoken about, but I'm gonna make a return to the Gold Cock.
Yeah. Well, we are talking about NAB today, so that would make sense. Okay.
Exactly. I thought that was kind of appropriate. So this is a Czech single malt. Right. If you believe there is such a thing, someone bought me, and it's remarkably good. So I'm gonna kill this tonight. I think
you'll have to send me a text or an email about that, because I'm gonna have to find that. And
I'll bring a bottle.
Okay, I did say it's very NAB because it's gold and there's a lot of bling in Vegas. Right, there you go. And there you go. And I'm Jem Schofield, the C47, and you know, we do production and teach about stuff and have a lot of fun over here. And I'm sitting inside of a big unfinished barn, and it's actually quite nice outside right now. Outside there is warmer than it is in here, and it's in the 50s Fahrenheit. Which is quite nice, especially because yesterday it was pouring rain and windy and just nasty as all can be. We're going to let the crew let us know which one I should have today, because I've got 2 bottles that are almost done. Trust me, I've already replenished the Kulela. So Kulela 12, or am I going to have the Dalwhinnie 15? Whoever texts it first, that's the one I'm going to have. So I'll look down there, and there you go. And what's everybody else drinking? We've got some water, a Snapple. We know that Bad Karma is not having a Snapple or a water. And what is the Grumpy Penguin having? That's what I really want to know. So am I having the Dalwhinnie 15 or the Kulela 12? Just say 12 or 15, whoever puts that down first. And Kulela. Okay, there we go. Thank you very much. So we're going to do a pour, everybody, and let's get down to business, and then I'll lay out the show. A Malbec tonight. Nice, Grumpy Penguin. It's been a while since I like a Malbec, though. I've definitely been, you know, sometimes so many Pinot Noirs here in Oregon that I have to go to a Malbec sometimes. So let's go ahead and cheers, everybody. This is... we'll give it to Ben on this. Actually, for his single malt, we'll give this cheers to Caleb. So cheers, everybody. And we forgot to do this at the end of the show last time. Here we go.
Cheers, guys.
Fantastic. Okay. Memo, you were too late. Okay. So we rotate every week, different host, quote unquote. Even though we're all doing this as a trio. So last week it was Caleb, this week is me, then it goes back to Ben, so on and so forth. So so this week we are talking about NAB 2019. We started to talk a little bit about the show last week. I personally have been teaching at NAB for, well, it's not going to be long from now that it'll be getting to double digits in years. And I know that, isn't that crazy? That's insane.
It's wild.
I actually, when I went to NAB the first time, I did not have any kids. And now I have an 18 turning 19-year-old this year. And so it's been a while that I've been going to the show. Actually, this may be, yeah. So this is crazy stuff. All right. So we're going to talk about the show. We're going to talk a little bit about kind of stuff you need to know. This should be one of our most interactive episodes of Camera and Flask. We do expect it to be very dialogue driven, a lot of conversation with everybody who is tuned in. So the questions that come in, we'll be looking at those and making sure that we're touching upon them. Just in terms of one question that we have that has nothing to do with NAB, but I don't want to forget it. Kyle says, trying to build a good starter grip and lighting kit for narrative and corporate work for under $4,000. Other than your list you did a couple of weeks ago, what would you add? That's a pretty loaded question, you know, I'm losing some of my memory here, but I would say
that's a decent budget, I think. You
No,
could do
it's
some
definitely,
serious damage with it.
Yeah, no, you definitely could. I
If
mean,
we're
the
looking
lighting
back
part
at
of
that
it,
older episode, pretty much all of us had some regulars between Westcott flex lights and aperture lights.
Yeah.
yes, for
So
sure.
I don't know if you travel much, Kyle, but that would kind of dial that in a little further.
Yeah, and I would also say when you're looking to purchase, because we are now heading into February, we are going to start to get some announcements in the next month and a half or so, and more so in lighting than in grip. But I think it's a good time to hold off if you are not in a hurry. If it's not something you have to do right now, then inevitably we're going to get at NAB. Oh, good, Kyle, after NAB. We are going to, you know, we're going to get updated versions of the lights that we know and love. And we're also going to get some new fixtures that we haven't seen yet, which will generally have more options internally and they'll have more output, you know, and we'll see new modifiers and stuff like that. So I would say, you know, unless it's something that's driving work for the next couple of months, then hold off a little bit if you can. I think that's what I would say. Anybody, Ben, you have any thoughts on that?
No, I kind of echo the stuff that we said in the episode when we were putting our kits together, but also, you know, NAB is a great place to go if you're putting kits together. I went the very first time purely, I think I was looking at software and I was wanting to get a handle, and I went on the various options. I was annoyed with Final Cut at the time with the change that it made to X, and was wanting to do some courses on the others. I was also looking at getting my first digital cinema camera at the time, moving up from SLRs, and NAB was sort of worth going. The exchange rate was a little better then than it is now, but it's a great place to go and get your hands on things, play with things. You can also get some deals. It's not really a trade show that people generally aren't selling on the show floor there, but you can get discounts for things to order afterwards. Yeah. So yeah, get yourself to NAB and shop there.
Good, yeah. And just Ty asking odds on A7S3 announcement at NAB. All we know is sometime in 2019. I know what I think, but I have no data. Caleb, you have any thoughts on that?
I don't have any official word, but I feel fairly strongly we might see something at NAB. If not right around then. Right around April, things are going to heat up. I did see a rumor. Unfortunately, we're not going to get an XH2 this year from Fuji Film, which makes me sad.
Yeah, it makes me sad too. And we've got the XT30 soon to be announced, at least per the rumor mill. The real question for me is whether or not they're going to put a flip out screen on that or not. Because I think it's going to be a strong little camera overall. Fuji has a history of not crippling too much. But now they have to start to be careful with the X-T3 having such strong video features. They don't want to, release something. And by the way, that cripples it. But the XH1 right now is going for gangbusters. I mean, you can get that with the battery grip for, what is it, like, it's as, if not less expensive than the X-T3. So from
their pricing and their sales recently have been ridiculous. You can buy an X-T3 for like the cost of one shoe, like not too long ago. It was incredible. They keep having these sales.
It's great.
The lenses were on sale the other week.
Yeah.
So yeah. If they, I don't know anything about that 30, but what's that one camera they came out with the flip out? It sucked for video. It had like 4K 15 frames per second.
Wait, was it a Fujifilm?
Yeah. It had a flip out screen. Like normal, the right way flip out screen. So they just do something like that and then give it 4K 30.
Yeah.
Done. I mean, that soundly stuffs Sony's, A6400.
Totally. Well, speaking of A6400, Grumpy Penguin is asking about that.
Oh, there he is.
So here's my thought. And we'll get to NAB soon. This is kind of NAB. They were talking about kit and gear and stuff like that. So 6400, pardon me. 6400 to me tells me that between Sony and really that started with the A7 III in my mind, but the 6400, and then we look at the X-T3 from Fujifilm. It's definitely 1,000,000% no longer about dual pixel CMOS AF anymore as just a Canon game when it comes to autofocus in video. So to me, that's the big change is, okay, so now we have a $900 camera US that has an AF system that is rivaling dual pixel CMOS AF from Canon. And I think that that's the big news here is that between, these other companies, really the one that's late to the party here in some ways, and I'm clicking on Caleb, is Panasonic. It's not that Panasonic is horrible at autofocus, but at this point in time, I would say that maybe along with Nikon, I mean, you've had some experience with the ZZ6. They're probably the ones that need to catch up in AF, but I'm talking about for video. But what's your thoughts on that? And then I know the updates and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but it's not. Yeah.
Well, if you look at the beginning of the GH5 to now, it's significantly better. I guess the GH5S, I haven't fully trusted those cameras with autofocus, but just recently for those videos I recently did, I had them on autofocus. They worked pretty solid. So I think the next generation is gonna be good to go. What's interesting is Canon had their dual pixel, right, which is amazing, but there are some technical disadvantages with that method. Am I right? With allocation pixels, isn't there a is there a technical? I haven't fully researched it, but a technical disadvantage to dual pixel.
I don't know if there's,
if anything, processing power struggles.
Yeah, maybe. There's a lot of stack sensor stuff that's going on now. You don't want just contrast based, you don't want, I mean, there's a lot of different technology, but then we also have to acknowledge that as advanced as the AF system is, the lenses are going to have a lot to do with the performance as well. So, I'm spending a lot of time now with the X-T3 and I got the 56-1.2. I got it as a portrait lens to use for photography, but I did shoot with it yesterday for video. And when you have it on continuous AF, it's a nightmare. I mean, it just hunts. And it's not the AF system, because if you put the 18-55 on there, no problemo, So I tend to, if I'm using that 56, use the touch focus and do a single as opposed to setting it to continuous. So you also have to find that balance. None of these AF systems are perfect, but it is exciting to see that these other companies are stepping up, which will hopefully make Canon step up in terms of some of the other feature sets that they have been holding back on, because now they don't really have that to rest on in terms of the only thing that, that was like their feather in their cap for a long time. So,
no, you're totally right. Fuji's there. Panasonic's on their way. The Nikon Z6 is great as long as you have light.
For video, you mean?
Oh yeah,
For focus.
autofocus is amazing on that
Great.
camera. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Rimrock.
amazing how fast everyone's caught
Yeah.
up on that, isn't it?
It really is.
Like the last 6 months,
Mm.
it's completely changed the whole landscape.
Totally.
On the
And
AF
it's exciting. I mean, it's because we really, you know, until our displays catch up to be 4K or UHD and we get a pixel to pixel. I mean, we really do on these tiny little screens when you're going out with the mirrorless camera, we do need to rely upon some additional tools. They're not always 100% reliable, but I have to say that you know, I am thrilled. There's some things about the XT3 that bother me to no end. One of them being the lack of a flip out screen, you know, but I am very, very happy. And it's also not just AF, it's the evolution of that autofocus system in terms of face detection and eye detection and all of the stuff that's going on with that, which is giving me more confidence in terms of using those features, especially when I see the on-screen display light up and I see a little green box around somebody's eye. I'm like, okay, we've got what we need here. I'm shooting at a 2 or a 2.8, but I have some confidence in that. Think Arri will ever come out with a cheaper camera? Yeah, used. No, I'm just kidding. You know, it's always a wish, but it's not their market. So, and if you look at the Academy Award nominations for this year, the most used camera on those films, it just came out today, is actually the Alexa Mini of all things. So there you go with your resolution thing. You know, A Star Is Born was shot on that. Another really big movie was shot on the Alexa Mini, and I saw A Star Is Born in the theater on a on a 4K projector, and it looked amazing. I mean, it really you know, looked fantastic. So yeah, 25K range if they did that. I don't think it's going to happen, but there you go. Love it if the EVA 2 came out, guys, with a better screen and maybe a slightly better build quality. It's a great camera. Yeah.
It is.
And a better
I
AF
love the
system.
image of it.
Great image. Yeah, Panasonic's always done well with their image. You know, it's really nice.
It's not a bad camera to use. I just don't think I'd trust it with putting up with my abusive cameras.
Yeah, that's what's funny about the EVA1. Like, I feel like my GH5 would be fine. You know, those cameras are weather sealed and all that good stuff. All their lenses are now weather sealed, but I don't feel like, your rattly camera. Do you want to talk about NAB? Like,
yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
What people see.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. Guillermo, by the way, Roma Alexa 65. So the big format one with 3 sensors. So yeah, actually, let's start, Caleb. What year was the first year you went to NAB?
When I went to help you,
All right, let's not talk about that. That was a long time ago. It was
3 years, 4 years.
No, more than that. I think
more.
Maybe this year. It might be 5 years ago.
Right before I got married, or right after I got married. So 5 years.
Yeah,
it must be. Yeah.
Good. So, so what was it like when you first went? I mean, because you obviously have a different view of the show now and of the town from the standpoint of what's going on. But for people who are, you know, hanging here and they're thinking about going to the show, what was it like, and what was it about it that, you know, you think would make sense for somebody to go? Because we find out so much information online now, you know, a lot of it prior to, and that was even different 4 or 5 years ago. But what is it that draws you back besides, obviously we hang out, but any feelings on that? Or just give me something.
It's meeting people. And at the time my channel was still fairly small. So getting hands-on in booths, meeting people who make the things that we all see online, talking to engineers. And I think the three biggest things is just being able to hang out with you guys. I met Jem for the first time that year. Ben, either that year or the year after, I can't recall. Maybe I can't recall. But meeting people is amazing experience. And then hands-on, like being able to touch the stuff that we look at photos at or online it's a completely different experience to be able to see it in person. So Kyle earlier is on the hunt for some lighting equipment and grip equipment. NAB is perfect for that. You can go to the Kupo or Matthews booths and play with rigging equipment. There's so much lighting there. It's incredible. And then the third thing is finding all the little stuff that no one talks about. You know, everyone knows about Rode, Zacuto back in the day. You know, Sony, Panasonic, all the mainstream stuff. But there's all the goodies in the outskirts of each hall that are really exciting. So in the South Hall, you go toward that one long run toward the very back. There's all kinds of amazing, like some guy who's starting to sell 8-bay SSD enclosures for $50. You know, like all this cool stuff. There's Central with lighting, and then North Hall, you never know what you're going to find. But yeah, that's what I would say.
It's just every week with 360 grad. It never ends. I love it. It's just ridiculous. So how about you, Ben? So you've gone for many years now, and for you, not only attending the show, and you know, you've worked with me and stuff, but you've done podcasts and you've done content creation and sort of, you know, besides the community aspect of it, which for me is everything. You know, what is it about, you know, what is it about the show for you?
Well, when you say about the podcast and the broadcast stuff that we've done there and the show coverage and helping you out a couple of times, and all of that stems from coming the very first time. It was quite a big financial decision the first time to come. It's an expensive flight and the hotels and everything else. And I paid for post-production world that year. And I think I learned more in that week than any other educational in the whole sort of time that I was at university. I think it's such an amazing program of really intense stuff that you can target because there's so many sessions going on at once that you can really drill down to the things that are going to help you, whether that's software, whether that's craft stuff. And you find that there's people, there's instructors there whose classes are great. And that's how we met, was I came to one of your classes. I think the first time I spoke to you was asking you about the weather sealing on the C300 Mark I, when that had just been released, because I was looking at that camera at the time. And then we had an FS700 issue that we were talking about. So, and the guys that I did the podcast with, which we've just started doing again, actually, which is Going Postal Show, that, again, all those people I met through one Twitter contact. There was someone that I was speaking to before one of the PPW sessions on the Saturday morning, and this kind of whole world opened up. I hadn't known about any of the parties and the evening events and the social stuff. And that is really where you get the value out of NAB and the contacts that you make. And I hadn't really planned any of that. And I met someone called Kylie Wall, who now works for Netflix. And she introduced me to all these people that she was talking to in kind of post chat forums and groups on Twitter. And then, this whole world opened up. And now I have this network of amazing friends and colleagues from all over the world that it's all stemmed, even friends that I work with in the UK that have either directly or indirectly come from contacts made at NAB. So really kind of working the social aspect of it for me is the key to getting the most out of it, because it's an investment for anyone. Obviously, if you're coming from a long way, you're going to spend a lot of money. But even if you're coming from the States, hotels are not that cheap now. They're all stuffing you for resort fees, which didn't used to happen. So to me, that's the real value in it. You can get your hands on kit if you wait a couple of weeks in your local retailer, but that's the thing you can't get anywhere else. And there's so many events, so many parties. You just need to plan it and start getting onto mailing lists and doing searches on Twitter and on social media, running up to it. And I guess we're probably going to do another show that we maybe have some specific things that we're going to list, maybe a little nearer the time. This is more of a general thing, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't think this is isn't over. This is a part one. This is sort of, you know, things to start to think about and maybe help people make a decision as to whether or not it makes sense for them to go to the show. The first time I went was in whatever it was, 2000, 2001. And I also paid my own way. I had a friend who was working for Panasonic, so he was really kind. Guy, Art Aldrich, who's still around and doing a lot of great work. And he let me stay in his room. And, you know, that saved me a little bit of money. Obviously, you could room with somebody if you don't mind doing that. And it was really actually important. I got a lot of flack initially for going, and I said, you know, I kind of have to do this, and I had already started to do some stuff with training with you know, Apple training, because I became a certified trainer, and it actually was the thing that launched my relationship with Apple as a company directly. So I was an Apple certified trainer, but this sort of solidified, and then I came back and I actually wound up working, I think, for free the first year in the Apple booth. And then I started to teach at the post-production world, which you're talking about, which is essentially a separate large conference that starts the Friday before the show and goes all the way through Wednesday. It's co-produced by NAB and a company called Future Media Concepts, and primarily happens in the convention center in lots of different rooms. And essentially what you do, that's two essentialities, is you sign up for the entire conference. And then there's a big board with all of the different tracks that have to do with different topics and types of topics, production, you know, special effects, whatever it's going to be, you know, it's going to be whatever these different categories are. And when you sign up, you get to just decide what room you want to go into when you get there. So the exception to that are things like what I do now, which are the field workshops, which is offsite. That's a separate thing where people sign up specifically for a day or both of those days. And then we rent out a sound stage, and then we teach production separately. So but it's all part of that same conference and stuff like that. So there you go. And it was great, but it was enormously overwhelming to go to the show for the first time. And I remember at a certain point just walking around and feeling faint-headed, not being used to being in the desert, not drinking enough water, not having comfortable shoes, and going outside. And I was just like, I just had to get my bearing and like sip water for a while and then get back in there. And, you know, and you get your sea legs, and eventually you start to figure out where things are. But I do think that it's really, really great to go to NAB with a good friend of yours. And that's not necessarily from the, okay, we're going to go drink and party aspect of it. It's just great to have somebody to hang out with when you're walking the halls to talk about stuff. And then you probably feel more comfortable approaching people and talking to people as well, because you're with a friend. And I mean, I can speak for myself and for a lot of other people, you know, at the show. Everybody's just there to kind of hang out and to you know, chat, talk shop. So unless somebody has to get somewhere to do something very specific, most people are very happy to just kind of have a chat, you know, and talk about stuff. So, and yes, you do, Metcalf Media, remember something about Caleb helping me and something about Thai food. That is a very, very important thing. I have my reservations in already for Lotus of Siam, so reserve away if you want to, but that is definitely something. Thank you, Harrison. I appreciate that. Good. So let's start getting into some questions. Caleb, do you see anything? We backtrack a little bit and see if there's anything we need to go over here. I mean, we've got some great, like, regular questions, people asking about C200 updates and stuff like that. What do you want to get into?
I'll have to look here a little closer, but I didn't really see too many questions. Guys, hit us up. What do you think of the Zcam E2 4K 30 with a global shutter for $2,500? I believe they also have a 120 frames per second 4K model that doesn't have a global shutter.
Yep.
Have you guys really read up on that at all?
I have not.
No, I mean, I've seen a little bit here and there on it, but I don't really know much about the camera, and I definitely haven't got my hands on it, so I can't speak. But then again, that is the place. So you go to NAB.
Yep.
You know, not everybody. I mean, I grew up in New York, and I've done a lot of events at B&H. And you know, you can walk into B&H and see this crap all of the time. But in any other place besides Los Angeles, there aren't big markets where you can go in and see this equipment. And oftentimes you're waiting until it actually drops and is available on the market. So it is a great place to actually do that. So it's really, you know, it's a pretty cool place when it comes to that. And then all the stuff like Caleb has talked about in the past, it's those little treasures, you know, it's like seeing stuff that you can't see anywhere else, and that will never even show the light of day in a Sammy's or a B&H or an Able Cine. And so you're kind of getting a little bit of an insight into some of the companies that, you know, a year or two from now might be a Tilta or an Aperture or something like that, you know, and that's kind of where you see all that stuff. Wouldn't you say that, Caleb?
Oh yeah, and a lot of those guys will never ever move over, right? Like when Ben was talking about, unless things are different over there, unless you're talking really mainstream, a lot of this stuff like Aperture, I don't think is still anywhere, right?
Right.
Aperture, Rhino, companies like that, you know.
Yeah, starting to distribute. Yeah, I mean,
places.
Aperture now is one of those exceptions where you can go into B&H and see their stuff, and now they're actually even in places like Able Cine. But for the longest time, they weren't. Actually, even the company, you know, we don't talk about some companies as much nowadays, but companies like Kessler and Zacuto, you know, those companies really were born from the internet. And you would have to go to shows like this to really get your hands on their products. And that was their whole community. It's a very different world now than it was, you know, back then. We don't say it's the good old days. It was those days, but it has changed quite a bit in terms of that. But I would say 360 grad, yeah, you could rent a friend, I guess. But I would say, you know, just come hang out. It's kind of crazy.
I would say as well, though, that sort of counter to what you were saying a little bit about going with a friend, and I think that is good. But also, don't be afraid to go on your own. I went completely alone. I didn't know a single soul, nobody, when I went the first time. Yeah. And I had the best week.
Well, here's the thing, right? Like, if you're into all this stuff, clearly you are. If you're watching this show,
yeah,
you can go to the show. You can go to the show and go to any booth that is related to our space and just start talking to someone else who's looking at the same thing on a table you're looking at. And you'll leave the show with tons and tons of contacts. I mean, it's amazing how many people just like go to the Aperture booth. If you're into lighting, go to, you know, name thing you're into here, Kessler booth, any of those guys. And you're going to meet so many people.
Totally.
You got your water there to clear your palate. Mr. 3 p.m.
No, it's just a Kulela there was hardly any in there. Thank you for that nice drink there, Caleb. The other thing that I would say is on the Monday when the actual show floor opens, use that day to just look around, because it tends to be that the conversations with the manufacturers are very hard to have on that day. Sometimes, especially the big booths, are going to be 4 or 5, sometimes 10 people deep. And so what you want to do is you just take the opposite viewpoint, I think, of what a lot of people think, which is that Monday is the run around and see everything day. Stroll around, take it easy, kind of take in the show, figure out the lay of the land. And I would say this for, you know, multi-years as well. Sometimes there's this tendency to wake up on that Monday morning and just rush around to see everything. It's not going away. No, it's not going anywhere. And
it's already online. Yeah. You're not going to see it before anybody else.
Exactly. What you want to do is you want to lie in bed in your hotel room, nursing the hangover from hell, which you are inevitably going to have. and just sit there with your phone or your laptop and read all the news and work out what you want to go see the rest of the week. Be in no hurry to get there Monday morning, honestly.
Oh, no.
Tack onto that, do the reverse. Instead of going to all the big booths, go to that, like, you know what I'm talking about, in Central Hall, where like it goes on for like, it feels like miles.
Yeah.
It's really long and narrow. Go all the way to the back, start there. Or in Central Hall, go to Little Asia, or those little corners where all the little booths are. There's all kinds of great stuff back there. And those people won't see much action on Monday because everyone's over on at Canon, GoPro, all the big booths. So they'll be
great advice,
ecstatic to talk to you. You know, and depending how big the company is, you know, you can sit down and talk to their engineer about stuff. It's awesome. Instead of fighting over who's going to ask this Canon or, you know, Canon rep when they're going to do 8K, yada, 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 yada.
Yeah,
totally.
Wednesday's the best day to go speak to people. If you're wanting to speak to people from the companies, Wednesday's a good day. Thursday, no one cares anymore and everyone's just desperate to go home. If you want to buy stuff, Thursday morning is a good time because people sometimes will sell off sample stock. I've bought batteries and things that I've managed to persuade people to part with rather than taking them home on the Thursday morning. But Wednesday's quite a good day. All the chaos has gone. It's a little quieter on the show floor, but people are still engaged to some degree, whereas everyone's demob happy on Thursday and just doesn't care anymore.
Yep. Daniel, yes, we are talking about NAB, and yes, you should go. Yeah, the dirty little secret, which Ben talked about, which you can't rely upon 100%, is, you know, technically, we shouldn't be saying this out loud, but manufacturers are not supposed to be selling product on the floor at a show like NAB. It is not the type of show that's a sales show. Yes, it's big about sales. It's about relationships and stuff. And a lot of deals are done there, but they're not supposed to be taking inventory. But that crap costs a lot of money to ship home. So you will find, if you just ask questions here and there, that there are quite a few manufacturers who will be willing to sell off of the floor. So great little suggestion. Yeah, totally.
And Dan's a mate of mine. Dan, you definitely need to come. We'll hang out. Do.
Yeah. And the other thing, Ned, is NAB does come to New York. It comes to New York every November. In fact, I teach there every November. It's called NAB New York, and it's a very different show. You of course are getting New York City, which is fantastic. You will not get what you're getting in Vegas, not because of anything other than the fact that it's its own unique animal. When you go to NAB there, you get.
I thought you were about to say herpes.
Well, no, but that could happen. I've seen a lot of things in Vegas. I also grew up in New York. I saw a lot of things there too. I'm happy being up on the hill here, herpes free. So there you go. The things we talk about. So Treasure Island is usually reasonable. Yeah, I mean, you can look around. There's still going to be some deals for hotels. Don't wait much longer at all. We're heading into February. This is really the point where it's just gonna, it's just gonna get unaffordable to a certain degree.
And there's other options. I've done it on the cheap a few times, and I've really been trying to keep it as low as possible. So
wait, stop. Hold on a second. I'm gonna preface this. Take what Ben says next with a grain of salt. And by grain of salt, I mean like
a bucket of salt.
A bucket of salt. But go ahead, Ben.
Which story do you think I'm about to tell?
Shoe.
Oh, I didn't think you were going to tell
something in your shoe.
The poop story?
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to tell the story.
I wasn't going to tell that story.
You're going to be honest.
I wasn't going to tell that story. I can tell the story, but I wasn't.
No, please don't. Oh my God. I'm just saying, take it with a bucket of salt. That's a new bucket of salt. Okay, go ahead.
There are
cheaper
options accommodation-wise if you go a little bit off-strip, and the motels like the Motel 6s, those things are pretty reasonable. There are some that are pretty central, actually. There's one just around the corner from the MGM, and those things are a lot cheaper. It's a different experience, obviously, but they don't have the resort fees, which you get stuffed with, which is, for someone from Europe, like that practice would be completely illegal here. The price that they advertise is not what you pay. That you you get another, what, $50 stuck on the top often. Anyway,
Yeah.
I digress. But yeah, the other option is Airbnb. And just read the reviews, make sure the place that you are choosing has reviews that are positive reviews, and then you don't walk into the bathroom at 2 o'clock in the morning after a night drinking to stand in dog shit. That's all I'm saying. I'm not going to tell the whole story, but
That's it. Hey, it's not as bad as The Hangover. So there you go. Somebody mentioned the monorail earlier on, and it is a great way to get back and forth. You just have to understand that it stops at very particular hotels. And if you're on the other side of the strip, you might walk 10 or 15 minutes to get to the monorail. But I like walking in Vegas. You know, it's eye candy everywhere. It's always visually interesting. And you can buy multi-day tickets. If you actually just email me through the c47.com, I'll send you a link and you can save 20% off on the monorail. I used to get a 7-day. Now, because of the workshops, I just get a Monday through Thursday, a 4-day one. And then it's just unlimited trips back and forth. So it can be great. You know, if you need a break in the middle of the day, go back to the hotel and it's not a $10 Uber to do that. So for Caleb, you know, I think you mentioned this last week and we talk about the different halls. Can you break down some of the different halls and kind of the differences in terms of what's there?
Sure. So we've got north, central, and south. All are connected. I would say for the most part, for our group of people, central is going to be hopping. Lots of lighting. All the camera manufacturers, well, not all, most of the camera manufacturers are there. Usually companies like Aperture, but that was different last year. No, that wasn't true. They were still in central, just a weird spot.
Yeah, weird spot.
So central is, you know, great for camera, lighting, production stuff. When you get over to South Hall, that's more post-production for the most part. You know, all this is, you'll find all kinds of stuff everywhere. But lots of post-production, some camera, and then that's a great place to go for hard drives and closures. Again, I love that end of that long run on South Hall. There's all kinds of fun stuff.
yeah,
Networking, all that good stuff. And then in North, it's a lot of like suit and tie. Not really.
there's nothing for us there.
Yeah, it's giant booths with tables where they try to get you to sit down and talk about synergy and systems. And
As Rimrock Creative Media says, North Hall is where it's at! Exclamation point. Distribution, IP, MPEG, platform services. So exciting.
Video over IP.
That said, some of the external walls of North Hall, if you're there every second the show is open and you run out of stuff to look at, just do a perimeter run of the North Hall. You'll find like there's companies that end up in the Central Hall from the North Hall, you know. So,
and also
my first year I started in North Hall, and I was
what
like,
the
wow,
F
this is
is
really
this show?
boring. No one told me anything. So I spent like 6 hours in the North Hall, or a huge amount of time, and then I finally was like, well, there's nothing here. This show's gonna suck. And then I found Central, and I was like,
Oh
what
my
was I
God.
doing all day long?
Oh, and then between Central and South Hall, beer. And
Yeah,
true.
now remember
And
that
OB
between.
trucks.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
well,
yeah, good.
tell me. No, I'm ready. I'm ready.
If you're going NAB, you have got to get the NAB app.
Yes.
Get the NAB app and turn on the notifications. You could, if you wanted to, drink for free pretty much all day long, and maybe eat for free the whole day. If you sign up for the NAB app, you have to create an account anyway to get your badge and do all that stuff. So you might as well get this app. It's amazing because it has a map. So you can just search Aperture and find their booth. It has a picture and a map, you know, and you can see where you are. But there's constantly all these booths will do whatever they can get to get people in the booth so they can scan your badge, get your email, all that stuff. So there's constantly just beer, free drinks,
prize draws.
open bar in these booths. So if you get that going on, what I'll usually do is I'll have a list of people that I, for whatever reason, bump into once a year. You know, that might not be like super tight like Jem, where I'm going to spend a significant amount of time with and love it. But I'll be like, hey, there's free drinks over at this booth. Let's go catch up. You know, stuff like that. It's great.
I'm thinking we should walk the floor together, guys, at least for one of the days. It'll be really fun. And of course, we're doing camera and Flask on Wednesday at the show somewhere. And so we should 100%. And Ben, I need you to remind me to start doing the press stuff so we can get that all sorted out. I think we should answer Larry's question. Yeah, go ahead. No, do that first, and then I'll go to Larry.
Okay,
go ahead.
We'll come back to it. So there are different ticket types as well, so that you get into different areas of the show. So you can just get a freebie exhibits only. So you just go around the show floor. And then there's things like the post-production world that we were talking about. And then there's other events going on, and it's worth having a look at some of those. So there's often like Q&A presentations and sessions with all kinds of really interesting people. So I went to one with Levetsky when he just shot Gravity, and that was an amazing session, listening to how they'd done that, and he just won the Oscar for it. But probably the most amazing thing that I've ever seen at NAB was a couple of years ago, and they had the first live 4K broadcast from the International Space Station. And we were all sitting there in this room, and we were having a live conversation with an astronaut, and it became so normal because the quality of the image was so good. And then they were shooting it all on a red camera, and they just let go of the camera, and of course it just sits there, or a guy just goes floating past. And other than the 20-second delay for the signal to get up and down, and that was one of the most moving, incredible things. It doesn't sound as impressive as it was, but it was just fantastic. And there's all kinds of interesting stuff like that going on, and it's all on that app that Caleb was just talking about. So definitely get it, and then work out what the passes are that you need to get into that, and see if you can flag something if you need to.
Awesome. Yeah. And I would say I didn't even know about that, Caleb, with the app and the drinking and the food and all that stuff. Larry's asking which companies host the best parties. And that's kind of so that's where things get a little bit strange, because even after going to NAB for, 18, 19 years, I don't know what parties are going to be happening. And I don't know if I'm actually going to get invited to the parties. Most of the parties that are the bigger parties are smaller but bigger, meaning that they're the parties that everybody hears about, but it's really, really hard to get into them. And sometimes it's as difficult as somebody tells you that you're invited, and then you have to go to a booth, and then you get like a wristband, and that's the only way you'll get into the party. So it's kind of a weird area. The only advice I can give you guys when it comes to the party thing is, first of all, never be eager and ask. And then just start relationships with companies as opposed to asking for something. Because sure, if you have a friend and they can get an extra one, that's great. But quite honestly, we don't even hear about it. Sometimes I inquire. For years and years, AJA was the party to go to. And now they don't even, I don't think they did a party last year. And then it became this combined party. Yeah, there was a combined party that was kind of that party, but it was like B&H, and it was maybe Atomos and one other company.
Right.
And Red, yep.
Right.
And so they did a combined party. But it's just kind of, it's just one of those things. You shouldn't be looking for that. But sometimes something will happen. Yeah. A party kid.
And some of the best ones.
Larry, the party's not going to be in Caleb's room. It's going to be in the Airbnb that Ben stayed at last year. Okay, what were you going to say, Ben?
No, I was going to say that some of I've been to the AJA party once years ago, and that kind of was an incredible thing in the form that it was then, which I don't think it is anymore. But that was like something out of the Hangover. It's exactly what you imagine Vegas to be. It was this kind of quite, just very elaborate on this sort of big scale in this nightclub on the roof of some casino. It was cool.
Yeah.
But I don't think that happens. But I really like some of the smaller ones. That they always seem to be the ones where you actually get to speak to people a lot more and you forge contact with. And like you say, just keep your ear to the ground. Social media is the way through all of this. That's how you find out what's going on.
Totally. And one of the big advantages of going to the show is that you come back and it creates the additional community where we're doing all of this and we're talking about stuff. So it's really fun. I picture the AJA party as them just handing out excess Scion stuff.
Love it.
Hopefully.
Yeah, you're not getting your invite for that.
That's actually, they fit that into like a bag with that tissue paper and they hand you a Scion when you're leaving the party. And then Ty says, I'm going to go to you, Caleb, next. This is actually a good tip. Another essential tip is using or creating a designated email address for the show. People would sometimes, because that is a really, really great thing. Because people will also do your tag without asking sometimes. They'll just like, they can be so obnoxious. Well, that's what Ty said. Larry, you will see a vlogger or two. I think that Caleb and I will be going around. We'll definitely have cameras and we'll be doing some BTS stuff. I'm not planning on doing anything where I shoot a segment from the show, but I'll be capturing some footage and things like that. Just have a camera, that way. So Caleb, what about you? What's your game plan, by the way? Because yours is a little different because Ben and I are going in and Ben's going to be doing the workshops with me. We're obviously going to see each other before, the actual show starts. But what's kind of like your game plan? Do you also do the like roll out of bed later on Monday, or are you there from the get-go? What's kind of your deal?
Usually a little later on Monday. It depends. I actually stay at a relative's second house, which is awesome and terrible.
Yeah.
Awesome in that I don't have to do any hotel stuff. Terrible in that it's not, right there like you guys.
Sure.
So my plan changes a little bit each year. The main goal is see Jem, see Ben, catch up with my gnomes and my homies, say hi to everybody, and then check out kind of what the theme of the year is. And you never know what that is. And I try not to do the big, like, this year was 8K. Look at these 8K cameras. I'll try to find, like last year it was Chinese cinema lenses. That was a theme that just blew up. There's so many companies getting into that, or affordable budget cinema lenses, things like that. So I definitely want to catch kind of the non-mainstream stuff. Maybe it's just boring to me when everyone's talking about the same Sony yada yada or the same Canon this, that, and the other thing. So that catching up with close friends in companies. So love the guys over at Aperture, Porter Brace. There are a lot of companies that I like to catch up with, meet, hang out with viewers, because a lot of them are going to be there. Just people that, because people that go to NAB, especially that hang out, like they spend their whole time in Central Hall, they're guys like us. And so we all know each other. I'll be like, oh, have you seen, they all know Jem, and it's a close, community. So catch up with them and then try to just see as much as possible. But usually it's
and ask us. What? Yeah. And ask us if you run into us, say, did you guys see anything cool?
Absolutely.
Because we're all down for that.
Person that stops me and says, hey, I watch your videos. I said, how you enjoying the show and anything cool? What'd you see?
Yeah, we ask them, but you should ask us. And it's just sort of, you're reciprocating and is that the right word? Yeah. And you just kind of sending people and that's kind of the fun of it. And that should be what it is just like finding stuff and being excited about it, and then taking a breather and just going for 45 minutes to an hour and just go and have a drink or go hang out a little bit and then keep going. And I think that's just such a huge thing. Gnomes and homies. Yeah, I guess so.
I've got a tip as well for that. Getting food during the day in the hall, there are places, but the lines are enormous. My top tip would be get yourself to the Pepper Mill for breakfast, which is this kind of weird and wonderful diner.
Yeah, the Pepper Mill,
which serves, the most horrific, awful,
greasy
enormous
American
portions.
Yeah.
Yeah, but kind of good. Like particularly for me as a tourist, it's great. But you go and I just eat a huge omelette or something in there, and that does me until the evening, which is normally when you can blag your way into a free party and there's food and stuff there. But normally if I eat breakfast and have a decent sized breakfast, that kind of an American breakfast, that lasts me the day.
Yep.
It's a nightmare, like lining up, overpriced.
Well, and there's
the whole.
There's the Renaissance, and then there's the Hilton, right? So you've got two hotels that flank the convention center. You can take a sky bridge to the Hilton. I think it's still a Hilton, and then the Renaissance, which is right next door, isn't it?
The
is
SLS
it whatever it is,
now.
SLS? And so
is it SLS?
Yeah, that's just
Westgate,
right there.
That's what it's called, the Westgate.
So you go to the Westgate, or you go to, I think it's the Renaissance or whatever it's called, right next to the South Hall. And you can just walk into those places and walk up to the bar and have a drink, or you can go and get a little bit of food. And yes, there's people there, but if you go to the Westgate, I mean, you can easily just go have lunch with somebody, and you're not waiting for a long time, you know, because everybody just stays at the convention center. Date of NAB, Guillermo, is, so we're 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th.
Is it 7th?
It's the 8th through the 11th, 8th, 9th, 10th. Yeah, 8th through the 11th for the actual show. Most people are going to show up on the 6th or 7th. And, you know, it's early in April this year, which is really nice. Sometimes it comes, you know, towards the end of April, which I don't like because it's too close to Cine Gear. So, yeah, I think that's all great advice. For you, Caleb, also any advice in terms of where to go when you're not at the convention center and stuff like that?
What to do?
No, just in terms of like tips for food or
absolutely. If you're not from that area in the US or somewhere else, I just say stick to your time zone for eating. So I think it's much later than everybody else. So I show up at like 2:30, 3, and I eat lunch, and it's like the lines aren't bad at all. And then usually by the time you get settled in with friends in the evening, you're eating later. So I just kind of roll with that. And then someone mentioned food trucks. There's food trucks kind of in the main where you pull up with your car in front of Central. And I love going there. There's a Chicago sausage one that's pretty good. And there's a bunch out there. So that's nice. Otherwise, yeah, I go to the beer garden in between. Is that the beer garden in between South and Central?
Yep.
And then just grab a terrible burger.
Yeah, Small HD is out there now. They usually are inside and outside, and there's less satellite trucks. I mean, that is also starting to change a little bit.
True.
At the show in general. All right, so here we are. We're at 58 after the hour. We're getting near the end. Some great interaction, some great questions. Kind of a part one here. I think as we get really close to NAB, we're going to do some sort of other episode.
Sure.
You know, but gentlemen, any ideas for next week's episode? Because I think we're not going to follow this with another NAB. And the thing that you guys are both available next week, right? You guys are around doing stuff.
Yeah. I don't see why not.
I'm going to be on the road.
Ben? Huh? It's
me.
It's Ben. It's Ben. Yeah. Yeah. Any ideas? Any suggestions, by the way, from the viewers, from the crew out there? In terms
what do you guys want to talk about next week?
What do you want to talk about? Yeah.
Let's see here. Welcome. People are talking about steaks.
T-bones.
Should we finish up any of our previous series? We've got like 6 in the work.
Part 1 is already done.
Yeah. Ben, will you take a look and see what some of our previous ones are?
Rumors from 360.
Yeah.
I
mean, we'll talk about it off. I don't know if we're going to see a C300 Mark III, but I like our dollar things. But I'm going to be on the road doing another course for LinkedIn Learning, lynda.com. So I'm definitely doing the live stream, but it might be it might be a little hard for me to do something where I'm going to be able to do a lot of research next week. So if there's something you guys could come up, yeah.
I mean, there's another thing. There's an awful lot of other smaller shows and things that are more regional that'd be good to talk about, but I think probably not next week on the back of this one. I think we're going to choose something.
Yeah, I think not rumors. Let's talk. Yeah, let's talk about something else. I'll be on the road, so I mean, we can talk about any topic that you guys want to.
All right, leave it with me. I shall come up with something.
Great. So again, gentlemen, Caleb, thank you so much. Anything you'd like to do your little sign off would be fantastic.
Thanks everybody for showing up. Make sure you subscribe. There's a button right down below us, and
Yes.
bell notification doesn't hurt either. We'd love to see you here every single week at 6 p.m. Eastern, and definitely hit us up offline. We'd love to talk to you on social media. You can find us all, I would imagine, fairly easily on Twitter and whatnot. Thank you all for joining us, and might as well just sign off with a little God bless America.
And I mean, the people are so cheeky in the comments. Go ahead, Ben. What do you got?
No, I was just going to sign off and say thanks again, everyone, for joining us. It's amazing to see so many of you coming back week after week, and we really enjoy it. And glad to see that some of you are as well. And yeah, I'm not going to do my fuck Brexit thing again this week. Oh, I just did.
You just did, and I'd like to say thank you, everybody, for coming every week. Little sad to say, as we're on the topic of NAB, that officially, as of this past week, the super meet is no more. It will not be continuing.
So that's no, but I hear it may be that may not be the case.
Well, I think that something's going to happen. I just don't know if it's going to be a combo effect. Who knows what will happen? I shouldn't have said anything.
Well, no, I don't know. Dan and co have been. I don't know. We'll see. They seem to be positive that something is happening.
I think
after the announcement.
Well, okay.
Yeah, but it is a shame. That's kind of institution, and those guys are great. Love those two.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. All right, good. So thank you again, everybody. As Caleb said, every Wednesday here on the C47's YouTube channel. Check out the other content here and on DSLR Video Shooters channel, along with Ben Barden's YouTube channel. And that will happen one day soon. And we'll get some content up there, but he's here every Wednesday with us, and we are super excited to see. Don't say anything about. We're going into Airbnb land. I can feel it. What's happening, Ben? Okay, and thank you very much. And guys, get your drinks, guys and girls, for next week. And signing off for now. Take care.
Take care, guys.